The next video is the next installment for Animals Are Smarter Than Jack, and we're up to Maximillion. Billy was a little boy who lived in a tin shack in the country with his grandma and a few old chooks. Not a very exciting life for a young boy, and, as you can imagine, Billy was very lonely. He spent his time looking after the chooks and his vegetable patch or going for walks in the bush. Once a month his grandma would get out the old horse and buggy and they would travel to the nearest town for supplies. They would leave as soon as the sun come up and wouldn't get back till the sun had set. Billy enjoyed the day talking to the townsfolk and for a while forgot that he was lonely. On one such trip, while his grandma was buying the groceries, Max, one of the locals, handed Billy a sack. "Like a new pet? I found him wandering in the bush. Looks like he lost his mother," he said. Billy looked in the sack. He saw what looked like a small-sized football with a rubbery whiskered nose and small black eyes blinking at him. "What is it?" asked Billy. "It's a baby wombat," Max said. "You'll really have to look after him because he's too young to look after himself." "Gee, thanks," smiled Billy. "My own little friend. I'll call him Max after you." Billy didn't quite know how to tell his grandma about Max, so he put the sack in the buggy. It was already dark as Billy helped his grandma unload, and he was still trying to think of a way to tell her about his new friend when he heard a loud scream. He rushed into the kitchen, and there was Grandma up on the kitchen chair with a befuddled Max looking up at her, wondering what all the fuss was about. "Get that overgrown right out of here," yelled Grandma. "But Grandma, he's my new friend, Max, and I have to look after him. He's not a rat, he's a wombat. Empty one of those grocery boxes and put that thing into it so I can get down. Tomorrow we'll take him down the creek and let him go." Sadly, Billy did as he was told. They sat down to a silent supper. When Grandma went to bed, Billy tiptoed into the kitchen to feed Max. He tried milk first, which he didn't like, so he gave him some bread and carrots. When Max had finished eating, he lay on his back with his little leathery legs sticking up in the air. As Billy tickled his tummy, he drew in his little claws and was soon fast asleep. "Billy, get in here now." Billy woke with a start and ran into the kitchen. Grandma was back on the chair, and there was Max curled up in her rocking chair without a care in the world. "Get the stupid wombat back in his box and lock him in the shed till I can get rid of him." "But Grandma, he's only a baby." "I've heard those things are covered in lice," shuddered Grandma. "No, he's clean," protested Billy. "He licks himself and combs his fur." "He'll grow into a nuisance and eat the vegetable patch and dig tunnels in the garden. Get rid of him. Lock him in the shed." So Billy went to visit his friend Max every day and fed him on bread, grass and carrots, and Max got bigger and bigger until he was so big that Billy knew it was time to return him to the bush. Billy put Max, who now looked like a fat little football, back in his box and took him down by the creek. He left him in the shelter of a log with a supply of food and sadly wished his friend goodbye. That night Billy woke to the sound of his grandma's screams. He rushed into her bedroom and turned on the light, and there was Max pulling on his grandma's blanket. Grandma jumped out of bed yelling, "Get that thing out of here! He nearly scared me to death." Billy picked up Max. "You'd think he was a snake or spider the way she carries on," he mumbled to himself. As he was heading for the shed, Billy saw a thin spiral of smoke in the bush, and through the trees he saw a red glow. "Grandma, fire!" yelled Billy. After the fire was out and all the excitement had died down, Grandma and Billy sat around the wooden stove drinking a well-earned cup of tea while Max squatted at their feet. "You know, Grandma, if it wasn't for Max we would have been caught in the fire. He's a real hero. Don't you think we should keep him so he can look after us? I mean, just in case this happens again." Grandma smiled. "I think we can keep Maximillion. His name is Max." "Yes," said Grandma, "but you have to admit he really is one smart Max in a million." And that ends that installment for Animals Are Smarter Than Jack.